welcome back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Retrospective, taking a look back at each film in the MCU and seeing how well they hold up. Last time, we saw the culmination of each solo entry in Phase 1 with the Avengers, and although it isn't quite as good as I remember, it's still an action-packed crossover that delivers on the fan service promised. Today, we look at the start of Phase 2 and the end of the MCU's first trilogy with Iron Man 3. Before we talk about the movie, let's look at the building of Phase 2 and how phases became associated with Marvel. When Avengers entered production, Kevin Feige said that he and the executives at Marvel were already looking towards the MCU's future. Their standalone outings proved successful, so no matter how well the crossover did, the heroes' sequels were all but secured. In 2012, Marvel officially announced their slate of Phase 2 films, with the exception of Ant-Man, as that was initially considered for the start of Phase 3, before being shifted to the end of Phase 2. Iron Man was the first hero selected for Phase 2, seeing how profitable his last two films were. Jon Favreau decided not to direct this time, having been drained of the constant changes and notes from higher-ups when making Iron Man 2. He did reprise his role of Happy Hogan and served as an executive producer on the film after doing the same for the Avengers. For his replacement, Robert Downey Jr. suggested Shane Black after working with him on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Black had also consulted with Downey on the story for Iron Man 2. Black wrote the script with Drew Pearce, who at the time was developing a potential Runaways film for Marvel, before it was reworked into a series under Marvel Television. Pearce and Black based their work on the Extremis storyline written by Ward Ellis, and also chose to use the iconic Iron Man villain, the Mandarin. Despite having a primarily different production team, Marvel made sure to keep the trademark style and tone of the first two films intact. The film premiered in 2013, just barely a year after the Avengers hit theaters. It made over $1 billion at the box office and became one of the highest-grossing films of all time, peaking at number 6. The responses, however, were very divided, mainly due to the major twist in the third act. Some felt it retained the charm and action of its predecessors, while others felt it betrayed a significant part of the character's comic book history. Though it isn't remembered very fondly, does Iron Man 3 have good things in it? Let me show you why it does. The film opens with narration from Tony saying how we make our own demons. He elaborates by taking us back to New Year's Eve 1999, where the Playboy flirts with scientist Maya Hansen, played by Rebecca Hall. This is not only a great way of looking at how far Tony has come as a character, but also throws in some nice callbacks, like the Ensign cameo. Plus, Happy with a Mullet is just awesome. I should also mention the appearance of Wong Soo-chi as Dr. Wu. In a special cut for Chinese audiences, Wu had a slightly bigger role, appearing later near the film's end, alongside fan Bingbing, who later played Blink in X-Men Days of Future Past. The film was co-produced with Disney's Chinese division, so the additional scenes were made to market it to the Chinese audience. At the party, Tony and Maya meet a disabled scientist named Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce, no relation to the writer Drew. Killian has a think tank company called Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM. He wants to work with both Tony and Maya, but Tony pulls a mean trick on Killian, saying he'll meet him up on the roof while he tries to get into Maya's pants. Maya also shows Tony her research on Extremis, a potential treatment for regenerated cells for injured or missing limbs. However, it has an explosive side effect. After their magical night, Tony leaves the next morning, having unknowingly created demons. We cut to the present, where Tony is currently working on his Mark 42 armor. More on that in a bit. This also shows the movie happening around the holidays, which technically makes Iron Man 3 a Christmas movie, or at least in the way Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. As far as the suit goes, this is one of his best. He has the armor connected to his nervous system to summon it automatically instead of having it put on manually, which is so cool. Anyway, Tony's shenanigans are interrupted by a hijacked broadcast on television. A man claiming to be the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, makes philosophical arguments to justify the Ten Rings terrorist attacks. Black and Pearce based this particular characterization of the Mandarin on modern terrorist leaders like Osama bin Laden. Mix that with Kingsley's iconic performance and we've got a devilishly good villain. President Ellis, played by William Sadler, rebrands Rhodey's War Machine suit as the Iron Patriot, even giving him a red, white, and blue paint job with a star on the chest in response to the Mandarin's threats. The original Iron Patriot from the comics was actually Norman Osborn, using the moniker to lead the Dark Avengers. They reworked it here to fit with the film's political undertones, though Rhodey did wear the armor in the comics at one point. It serves as a good foil for the Mandarin's nature. However, this decision does draw criticism and jokes from various reporters and talk shows. Even Joan Rivers takes him down a peg. Anyway, Tony tries to ask Rhodey about intel on the Mandarin, but Rhodey is more concerned with Tony's mental health, as he hasn't slept in days. Things don't get any better when he has an anxiety attack in public. People have commented that Tony's PTSD feels out of place considering all he went through in his previous films. However, I'd argue it isn't unwarranted. Think about it. He made a sacrifice, knowing he would probably die, and one of the last things he sees is an alien ship blowing up and endless space. Anyone would have trouble keeping it together after that. He deals with his anxiety by building more suits, which is why he is now at 42. This also puts a strain on his and Pepper's relationship. He does explain that what happened in New York changed his perspective, and he is tirelessly working to find a way to best protect the one thing he cares about: her. I like this because this is Tony at his most vulnerable that we've ever seen him. Speaking of Pepper, she reunites with Killian, after working with him a long time ago, who has now turned into a handsome businessman that could rival Tony's charm. It's a classic ugly loser grows up to be attractive and successful routine. Sadly, that's my main problem with the film. Despite Guy Pearce putting in a great performance, the character isn't given much different from Tony's past rivals like Justin Hammer. I also have a major pet peeve with business suit villains, as they are mostly after money or power without any sympathetic backstory or compelling motivations, although Killian is sympathetic in the beginning. Anyway, he presents Pepper with Extremis, hoping to get backing from Stark Industries. Pepper declines, however, believing it can be easily weaponized. Meanwhile, Happy becomes suspicious of a guy working for Killian named Eric Savin, played by James Badge Dale. He follows the guy to a meeting with a veteran who uses drugs for Extremis, which causes him to explode, vaporizing people near the vicinity and severely wounding Happy. Tony visits him in the hospital, where he is in a coma for the rest of the film. While it is sad that he is mostly out of commission here, it is nice that they tried to give him a bigger role now that Favreau didn't have to worry about being behind the camera. Egged on by the press, Tony issues a verbal threat to the Mandarin, even going as far to publicly give out his home address. This is admittedly very stupid of him, and it definitely bites him in the ass. But try to put yourself in his shoes. One of his best friends is near death, and there was nothing he could do to help. I'd be seeing red. And let's remember Tony's hubris here. At Tony's house, while under lockdown, he researches Mandarin attacks and their relations to veterans. He finds an anomaly in a similar attack predating any bombings the Mandarin claimed in a little town called Rose Hill in Tennessee. He's interrupted when Maya Hansen shows up at his door, claiming to want to help him. Pepper is preparing to leave town, wanting Tony to come along. Their argument is interrupted when Savin leads a helicopter strike on the house. Tony summons the Mark 42 to protect Pepper and get her and Maya to safety. Tony then tries to use the armor to fend off the attack, but falls into the water and is presumed dead. In actuality, Jarvis took over the armor and accidentally sends Tony to Rose Hill due to a malfunction. The suit also becomes a metal statue with little power. Tony breaks into a nearby garage and tries to repair the suit. There, he meets a young boy named Harley Keener, played by Ty Simpkins. Harley helps Tony with his investigation of the bombing and repairing the suit. People either love or hate Harley, purely because he's a kid. I like him. He's written and acted well. He doesn't take up the entire film and doesn't feel any more annoying than he's meant to be. Tony meets with the victim's mother, Mrs. Davis, played by Dale Dickey, who gives Tony files on her son through the investigation. They are intercepted by an assassin for Killian named Ellen Brandt, played by Stephanie Stosak. She and Savin attack the town and kidnap Harley. What's great about this action scene is how Tony has to fight without the suit. One of the major things Black wanted to explore in the film was the question, does the man make the suit, or does the suit make the man? Tony has to rely on quick wit and ingenuity to save the day, and it's a great character moment for him. After killing Brant and incapacitating Savin, Tony leaves town to find the Mandarin. Meanwhile, Pepper talks with Maya, who says she believes Killian is working for the Mandarin. However, Killian attacks Pepper, and Maya is revealed to be in cahoots with him. Tony goes to a pageant broadcast by a local news station, which gives us our Stan Lee cameo. I should take this time to mention that I neglected to mention his cameo in Avengers, but that's because it isn't that memorable. I honestly preferred the one in the deleted scene. Anyway, we also have a cameo from Adam Pally, who is a cringy fanboy. He helps Tony hack into AIM's software and access the Extremis files. He discovers that Killian used the explosive side effect as an untraceable bomb, which Tony believes the Mandarin bought. He has Harley track the Mandarin's broadcast signal and triangulates to find the point of origin, which just so happens to be Miami. However, his suit is still unable to work, causing him to have another anxiety attack. Harley tells him to build something to help him recover, and he buys a bunch of home store products to MacGyver his way to the Mandarin's base. Not sure how he managed to buy all this stuff, considering he doesn't have money on him. Did he have his credit card in the suit? And he didn't steal. They show him at the checkout purchasing the items. He makes his way to the base and easily dispatches the guards while entering what appears to be some sort of party house. He gets to the Mandarin's bedroom and hides when he enters. His accent is noticeably different here, and I wonder why. Tony holds him at gunpoint, and we finally get to the twist that split audiences down the middle. Ben Kingsley's character is not the real Mandarin. He is an actor named Trevor Slattery, hired by Killian to pose as the Mandarin and claim the Extremis attacks to hide his true agenda. Trevor is a loser and a joke. A sheep in wolf's clothing, so to speak. People's reactions to this reveal have been interesting, to say the least. Some felt it insulted the original comic book version and threw away what could have been an iconic villain in favor of Killian claiming to be the Mandarin. Others thought it was hilarious. Personally, I'm in the middle. On the one hand, it is funny, and Kingsley looks like he's enjoying every second. On the other hand, this was a huge missed opportunity. Now we'll never see the OG Iron Man and the real Mandarin face off in the MCU. And that's disappointing. It is nice that Marvel is rectifying this action by giving us a much better rendition in Shang-Chi, but it doesn't change the fact that Iron Man's arguably most iconic villain will never be a part of his MCU story properly. Drew Pearce suggested the idea in the first place, and thankfully realized his mistake by writing and directing the one-shot All Hail the King. We'll cover that another day. Savin catches up with Tony and knocks him out. He wakes up tied to a bedpost, surprised he didn't make a sexual quip, and Maya's there, who wants his help in perfecting Extremis. Tony refuses and cites the morality of the situation, giving Maya a change of heart. Killian shows up, giving a typical "I'm here to thank you" speech that villain who started out as losers say. He reveals that they gave Pepper Extremis to give Tony an incentive to work with them. However, Maya's conscience makes her turn against Killian and threatens her own life since she created Extremis. Killian is unfazed by this and shoots her dead. This is a big letdown. Maya was actually meant to be the main villain in early drafts of the script, and I could see it working. Sure, it's a jilted lover angle, but it would be something different. However, the big Marvel execs, Ike Perlman, wanted her role reduced. Even Brant was meant to have a bigger part, taking on Savin's role in the group. It's a shame because it all sounds interesting. Instead, we have Killian breathing fire and having dragon tattoos. Speaking of, they also kidnap Brody and commandeer his Iron Patriot armor. Savin uses it to kidnap the president and bring him to Killian on an oil rig. Meanwhile, Tony and Brody break out and used his now charged armor to dispatch the guards and get information out of Trevor. They inform the vice president, played by the late Miguel Ferrer, but he doesn't take action and agrees with Killian, who promises to use Extremis to fix his granddaughter's limb. Tony uses his suit remotely to reach Air Force One, kill Savin, and rescue the hostages in an epic skydiving scene. This is one of the best spectacles in the MCU, especially because it's mostly practical. Aside from the motion capture suit and background changes in post-production, this was all real skydiving with professional divers. It's awesome. Definitely one of my top 10 favorite moments in the MCU. However, the suit breaks and Tony and Rhodey are forced to go to the rig themselves with only 2 guns. While all of this has been going on, Jarvis is working on a secret protocol which comes to their aid. This is the Iron Legion, and they are awesome. They're not on screen for long, but each moment is a great homage to each suit and makes for a fun climax. Rhodey rescues the president, and Tony goes to save Pepper, who seemingly falls to her death. Emboldened by revenge once again, he goes one-on-one with Killian. Pepper is revealed to be alive and uses Extremis and parts of the armor herself to kill Killian. Although fearful of her condition, Tony believes he can help her. The VP and Trevor are arrested, Harley's garage is upgraded, Pepper is cured, and Tony finally has an operation to remove the shrapnel in his chest. The ending has him going to the ruins of his house where he tosses his core into the sea. He also recovers some of his equipment to work on new suits and declares that the one thing no one can take away from him is that he is Iron Man. The post-credits scene reveals Tony's narration was him talking to Bruce in a makeshift therapy session, who fell asleep at the very beginning. Just Marvel continuing their troll endings. Despite the issues people had at the time, I enjoyed the film when it came out. Now, I enjoy it more just because it's such a fun ride. It isn't fantastic, but I do like it a good bit. And despite the sequels being kind of lackluster, I find the Iron Man films to be a fairly solid trilogy. Most of it's due to RDJ, who at this point is undeniably iconic as the character, but they're also just fun to watch. I'd argue Captain America has the better trilogy, but I can comfortably recommend all 3 films. With Phase 2's opening chapter done, it was time for Marvel to revisit another Phase 1 hero. Join me next time when we look at Thor: The Dark World, and see if anything about it has gotten better over time. Until then, if you want to keep up with my videos, then be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch, and check out my VODs on my other channel. If you enjoyed the video, then feel free to leave a like and share it with friends. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.